Okay, so I'm just gonna make a quick video to kind of go over how the Record Buster works and what team I'm using. Clearly, this isn't the meta team. This isn't the team that's gonna score 600 million, but it'll give you an idea as to how to build for it. So I'm using the ninth Riv, which it increases her own SA gauge. It has the slow super magic attack, and then it also has the self magic and dex buff, which is a high water. We're using another Riv, which her main reason is, she has the allies magic and water attack damage plus 40%, and then she has the super water magic attack and high end guard, and then attack type single target plus 20%. So that's the main reason for her. And then we're using the water Lefia, which, I mean, she has her own buff where she buffs her MP and then magic and all that. But basically, it's for the water resist minus 30 and magic resist is the main reason why she's in here. And then, of course, she has the super water magic attack. And then, of course, we're sacking Line. We all know why we sack Line. It's for her spotlight attack, which increases our SA gauge. And then we're also sacking Crozo in there, Wealth in this, however the fuck you want to name him, because he also has that increased SA gauge charge. I guess this is kind of like an abnormal strat for a lot of people that are newer. The reason we're running 2 units that increase SA gauge charge is because Otarrl clears his buff, or clears your buffs with his ult on turn 4 and 8. So basically we're just using Line and Wealth just to maybe get 1 extra SA from our attacks out of the first 4 turns. After that, that buff gets cleared and it doesn't fucking matter anymore, which is why you really need units for this that are going to debuff and then buff themselves. So that's why we have, like Lefia that's debuffing magic and water. We have Riv that's buffing single attack up, etc, etc. So you really need your units to kind of carry you through this to get a good score, because your buffs are getting cleared every 4 turns essentially. And then we're using the Hephaestus assist, which is just magic 20%, and then water attack plus 15. Demeter, which has the critical rate and magic rate minus 20%, and then I also gain a 10% crit rate extra with Riv. Of course, we're using Celeb Hestia just to debuff the enemy so we don't take as much damage. Plus, we also get counter rate plus 10 from that. I'm using Moonlight Reunion Hestia, also referred to as ST Hestia, just because she boosts single target 15%. Also know that you can use the new Asfi. I forget what her little sub name is, but the new Asfi will also buff. She's actually a better unit. This is an outdated one, but I don't have her MLB. We're using Duck Hestia. The STR boost on Duck Hestia doesn't matter. It's really for the water minus 10% resist. And then we're using Finn. Everybody knows how Finn works. So we're using Finn to try to get our SA gauge up. And then we're also buffing magic agility and etc. And then Haru. We all know how Haru works. And she's just there to basically debuff the enemy every 4 turns and keep my buffs up as I'm applying them. And then she also has her attack 2, which is going to increase my counter. So I doubt that I'm going to get an amazing run on this, but I just want to basically make a quick video to explain how this all works. For newer people, I mean, if you don't have revolving anklets, which I'm sure not all of you do, you probably aren't going to be able to run, the same units that I have in slots 4 or 5. You're going to need to run a weaker unit just to get your assists off. The other thing is if you don't have seal anklets, this is a seal boss, so you need seal anklets on everybody. So if you don't have them, you're going to have to run a seal assist, which would be the Anya, the 3-star Anya, and you would just put her in there where you can on your assist line, based upon what units you have. So anyways, seal anklets, of course revolving anklets, and then, you have Haru coming in slot 6. That's kind of normal for any Record Buster team. It's really just your sacks and your front 3 that change, but Haru normally comes in slot 6. So anyways, like I said, we're going to do a run and see if we can do anything decent here. It's probably not going to be some crazy score, because like I said, this isn't a meta run, and I've been dying turn 13, but I'll just go through it and kind of explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Okay, so first turn, we're doing the self-increase SA gauge. And we're going to reapply this buff every 4 turns. Like after Otarrl ults, we're reapplying this buff. And then of course we're buffing everybody, so it's basically attack ones all the way around, and that's just going to increase everybody's damage. And then we're using lines S2, which is the increased SA gauge for everybody. Then our sack's going to go, and then we're going to do the same thing with Crozo, increase the SA gauge of everybody. And then we're just using the Leafia second attack to, of course, decrease water. And then since Otarrl doesn't buff his strength, I really don't need to remove the strength, so we're just going to use Riv super attack here for the rest of them. We're doing the self buff with the first Riv. Then we're debuffing the enemy since Haru comes in before he can ult. We're going to debuff and then heal. So now I can go ahead and use her super because I've already buffed everything. And then, like I said, we're not using Riv's strength debuff because Otarrl isn't buffing his strength, so we're just going to keep it on super, and then we're going to run the super on the other Riv. Then we're keeping our front three attacks the same because they're already their strongest attacks, and then we're just going to heal and extend buffs with Haru. Okay, so no damage really given. If you notice, I still have my strength and magic debuff up right now, and my unit resist. So he doesn't clear the buffs that he has on him, he just clears the buffs that you have on your unit. So you'll see, like, I've lost all my assist buffs, everything. So I have to go through and start rebuffing. So that's what we're doing now, and then I'm going to use Shiki and try to get away with it, which is basically just going to boost my counter. So as long as he doesn't destroy my Leafia right here, it's not a terrible run. Okay, and then we're just using Haru to heal and extend buffs again. The other thing that I should note is you noticed I used 2 of these attacks at the beginning. It was just to get damage at the beginning while I had the buffs up, because this attack does actually remove all the buffs on the unit. So from here on out, I'm just going to use her high attack with the water resist. Then we're just moving our first Riv to her super attack to deal more damage. While my cat goes apeshit. Same thing, no reason to change, everything's been debuffed. Now the important thing to note about this turn 8 ult from Otarrl is this is the last ult that clears your buffs. So after this, I'm going to clearly reapply my buffs, but his turn 12 ult does not remove your buffs. So this is where, if you notice, my SA gauge is already up at 3. This is where I'm going to start using SAs. So since I have 6 turns left, I'm going to go ahead and buff with Haru. Mind you, I don't know if this is the best strat right now. It may be better just to straight up attack, but I'm going to buff with Haru, and then I'm going to reapply all my buffs. And then, of course, I'm not going to release the skip SA animation until after Record Buster is over, so I got to sit here and watch all these. So now everybody's been buffed by Haru. I'm going to get the heal, so I'm going to go ahead and just double check my strength and everything. My debuff is good for 4 more turns, so I'm going to put my counter buff on. And then we're just going to attack like we were. So we're still we're buffing the first Riv, of course, and then we're going to go to her super attack. We're using super on the second Riv already because we don't need to go high since we're not removing any strength buff because Otarrl doesn't have one. And we're not going to use Lefia's third attack because it's going to remove the buffs that are on Lefia already, so she's going to lose that 100% buff from Haru's SA. And now that everything's been applied, like I said, we're just going to go with the super. Everybody's using their strongest attacks except for Lefia because I don't have the MP for it. And then we're just going to heal. And now is where I'm still kind of playing around, trying to figure out the best turn order, whether I should double alt or whatever, but so far I've noticed that single alting has been better with Riv, because like I said, I'm not using a meta team, so I'm not using Lena that's just outrageously strong right now. So we're just going to try to survive the turn 12 ult, and if we can, we'll get like right around 400 million for the score. But unfortunately, I've been getting kind of unlucky here. My first few runs yesterday, I didn't have anybody get wiped. And then for whatever reason, my later runs, I was losing 2 units here. Mind you, I'm not running a full MLB Lefia, so I kind of expected her to die, but my Haru was dying. And basically, once Haru dies on this turn, it's a wipe. I'm not going to survive 15. So yeah, there goes Haru. If Haru would have survived, then this would have been a good run. So at this point, this run's pretty much dead, but what I would have done is then of course healed with Haru, and then I would have just kept alting with my first Riv until turn 15. That would have been the strat. But since everybody's going to get wiped this turn, we're just going to go all out. And this should still be about 215 mil, roughly. So anyways, clearly I'm still messing around trying to figure out the best turn order, how to do things, survival, etc, etc. But this is kind of, I guess, an introduction as to how this Otarrl works. The key things to remember is that he removes your buffs when he ults at the end of turn 4 and turn 8. After that, his ult on turn 12 doesn't remove your buffs in any way, shape, or form. So once your buffs are applied turn 9, they're good for the rest of the match that you survive. So that's kind of the key takeaways. Remember, it is seal, so if you don't have seal anklets to put on your adventurers, you need to run a seal assist. And then, you know, if you don't have revolving anklets to run decent sacks, you're probably just going to want to deal with the lower damage, the lower whatever, and run level 4s, level 10s, your lowest level characters that you have on slot 4 and 5, because realistically anything that they do is going to get wiped turn 4 on his first ult, so it's not that important on this boss. I actually get one more turn out of it. Just kidding. So yeah, that's the introduction to this. We'll see the score. Like I said, it'll be about 277. So, like I said, I'm still playing around with it, having problems surviving turn 13, but that's kind of the gist of how Otarrl goes. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask, guys.